This lesson is 3.2, Solving Inequalities by Adding or Subtracting. So for this lesson, I don't have too many definitions. We're just going to go right into some examples here. Just remember, you do need to write down the actual question, and then you do need to write the examples down, and then also include everything that I write in your notes that you see from me writing down as well. So here we go with examples. We want to solve the following inequalities and then graph them. Notice the first example, we have s plus 1 is less than or equal to 10. The first step we need to do here is get that variable s all by itself on the left. So I need to take what's called the inverse operation of adding 1. I'm going to subtract 1 on the left, subtract 1 on the right. So what I'm going to have is s is less than or equal to 9. So that is my inequality. So s can be any value that is less than or equal to 9 to make this true. So what we need to do now is graph this. So to graph this, I'll draw my number line. Here are a few numbers. 9, 10, 11, 8, 7. There. So if s is less than or equal to 9, since it's including, because the line below, it's going to be a shaded in circle at 9. S is less, the variable is less than or equal to 9. So if it's less, I shade to the left. So I have solved and I have graphed. Let's go on to the next example, number 2. We have 2.5 is greater than -3 plus t. Again, we want to get the variable t all by itself on the right side, so I will add 3 to the right, add 3 to the left. 2.5 plus 3 is going to give me 5.5, which is less than t. So I have solved for this inequality, so now I need to go ahead and graph. So again, we have my number line. 3, 4, 5, 6. 5.5 is right here. You can label it 5.5 if you'd like. 5.5 is greater than t. Notice this is greater than, so it's going to be an open circle at 5.5. 5.5 is greater than t, which means t is going to be less than 5.5. So I'm going to shade to the left here. Always think of too, when you're shading, which way to shade. Look at the variable and look at what way the sign is facing the variable. Notice t is less than 5.5 or 5.5 is greater than t. So t is going to be anything that's less than 5.5 there. All right, let's go on to some more examples. Example number 3. Here we go. Solve again the inequalities and graph the solution. Q minus 3.5 is less than 7.5. So I'm going to add 3.5 to the left, add 3.5 to the right. So I have here Q is greater than 7.5 plus 3.5 is going to give me 11. So I have solved. Now I need to graph. Nine, 10, 11. If Q is less than 11, we're not including 11, so it's an open circle at 11. The variable is less than 11, so I'm going to shade to the left. One more example of solving and graphing. Here we have 0.9 is greater than or equal to n minus 0.3. So if I need to get n by itself, I'll take the inverse operation of -0.3. So I'll add 0.3 to the right, add 0.3 to the left. 0.9 plus 0.3 is going to give me 0.12, which is greater than or equal to n. So now let's graph this. Here's my number line. 0, 1, 2. 1.2 is going to be real close to 1, maybe about right there. We can label it 1.2. Notice 0.12. I'm sorry, it's not 0.12, it's 1.2. My mistake, 1.2. So it's 1.2 here. Notice 1.2 is greater than or equal to n, so I'm going to have it shaded in circle. If 1.2 is greater than or equal to n, or n is less than or equal to 1.2, I'm going to shade to the left. Here we have a story problem. Sammy has a gift card. She has already used $14 of the total value, which was $30. Write, solve, and graph an inequality to show how much more she can spend. So let's first write out an inequality. If she has already used $14 of the total, which was $30, how can we write this as a math problem? Well, if she's already used $14 plus the amount she has for the gift card, that's going to be less than or equal to the total she had, which was $30. So that's the inequality for that problem. Now we need to solve it. So I'm going to subtract 14 to the left, subtract 14 to the right. So I have G is less than or equal to 16. Now I need to graph this. I have my number line. I'm going to have a closed circle at 16. If G is less than or equal to that, then I'm going to shade everything to the left. Last problem, last story problem as well. Mrs. Lawrence wants to buy an antique bracelet at an auction. She is willing to bid no more than $550. So far, the highest bid is $475. Write, solve, and graph an inequality to determine the amount Mrs. Lawrence can add to the bid. So if she's willing to bid no more than $550, that means she can include the $550, but no more than that. And the highest bid is $475. So with that being said, the highest bid is $475. We have $475 plus the variable to get no more than that $550. So it's going to be less than or equal to $550. So let's solve this. Let's subtract 475 from the left, subtract 475 from the right. So I have H is less than or equal to 550 minus 475 is going to give me 75. That's what I've solved for. So now let's graph it. I have my number line, 73, 74, 75, 76. H is less than or equal to 75, so I have a closed circle at 75. I'm shading to the left.